Listen to me closely. If someone keeps access to your life but never treats your heart with care, they are not confused. They are comfortable draining you, comfortable watching you over-explain, comfortable benefiting from your empathy without ever returning it. And here's the truth most women learn too late: wisdom isn't loud. It doesn't argue. It doesn't announce goodbyes. Wise women don't beg for respect. They quietly remove access because peace is too expensive to give away for free. The first kind of person a wise woman never keeps around is the emotional leech. This is the person who feeds on your compassion but starves you of support. They come to you wounded, broken, overwhelmed, and you show up. Every time you listen, you hold space, you offer patience, understanding, grace, but when you need the same softness, they disappear. Or worse, they minimize your pain, they change the subject, they make you feel dramatic for having feelings at all. And slowly, subtly, you stop shrinking, you stop asking, you convince yourself that being strong means being silent. But strength was never meant to mean self-abandonment. Wise women notice patterns. They notice who only shows up to take, who treats emotional labor like an entitlement, who confuses your kindness for obligation, and they don't confront with fire. They don't explain themselves into exhaustion. They simply stop pouring. Because here's the boundary. If someone only needs you when they're drowning, but never cares whether you're breathing, they don't deserve a seat at your table. Wise women don't cut these people off with cruelty. They do it with clarity. They do it with silence. They do it by choosing themselves. Finally, the second type of person a wise woman never keeps around is the chronic underminer. This is not always the loud critic. This is often the subtle one. The one who smiles while planting doubt. The one who disguises discouragement as concern. The one who claps for you, but not too hard, because your growth threatens something in them. They say things like, "Are you sure that's realistic?" Or, "I just don't want you to get hurt." Or, "You've changed." And what they really mean is, you are outgrowing the version of you I could control. Wise women feel this energy before they can explain it. It's the heaviness after a conversation, the way your excitement deflates when you share good news, the instinct to downplay your success so they don't feel uncomfortable. And that instinct, that's your intuition waving a red flag, because love doesn't shrink you. Support doesn't make you question your worth. Anyone who consistently pokes holes in your confidence is not protecting you. They are protecting their position in your life. Wise women understand something crucial. Not everyone who has access to your story deserves front row seats to your evolution. Some people only liked you when you were unsure, smaller, easier to influence. So they stop explaining their dreams to committed to misunderstanding them. They stop seeking validation from those invested in their hesitation. They stop handing over their future to someone who cannot see past their own fear. This isn't arrogance. This is self-respect. And here's the quiet power move. Wise women don't announce their plans to underminers. They don't seek permission. They move in silence and let results speak. Because when you protect your confidence, you protect your destiny. The third type of person a wise woman never keeps around is the boundary breaker. This is the person who hears your limits and tests them anyway. The one who smiles while stepping over the line. The one who treats your no like the beginning of a negotiation instead of the end of a sentence. At first, it looks small. A joke you didn't like, a request you already declined, repeated, a private story shared without your permission. And when you speak up, they don't apologize. They deflect, they laugh, they say, "You're too sensitive," or "I didn't mean it like that." And suddenly, you're not just protecting a boundary, you're defending your right to have one. Wise women recognize this pattern early, because anyone who consistently ignores your limits is not confused about them. They are challenging them. They are seeing how much access they can take before you push back. And the moment you stop pushing back, they take more. Here's the truth. Boundaries are not walls. They are instructions for how to love you. And when someone refuses to follow those instructions, they are choosing disrespect. Wise women stop over explaining their boundaries. They stop justifying their discomfort. They stop teaching adults how to treat them, because the right people don't need repeated reminders. They listen the first time. So instead of raising their voice, wise women reduce access. Instead of endless conversations, they create distance. Not out of bitterness, but out of self-protection. Because someone who doesn't respect your boundaries will never respect your heart. And wise women know peace requires enforcement. The fourth type of person a wise woman never keeps around is the consistent invalidator. This is the person who makes you doubt your own emotional reality. The one who responds to your pain with logic instead of empathy. The one who hears your hurt and immediately explains why you shouldn't feel that way. You say you're overwhelmed. They say others have it worse. You say something hurt you. They say that's not what I meant. You say you need space. They say you're overreacting. And over time, something dangerous happens. You stop trusting yourself. You start second guessing your instincts. You minimize your needs before anyone else can. This is how emotional erosion works, not all at once, but quietly, daily, until you forget what it feels like to be emotionally safe. Wise women understand this validation does not mean agreement. It means acknowledgement. And anyone who cannot acknowledge your feelings does not deserve access to your inner world. Because feelings don't need permission to exist. They need compassion. Wise women stop chasing understanding from people committed to dismissing them. They stop trying to translate their emotions into something more acceptable. They stop bending their truth so someone else can stay comfortable. Instead, they choose environments where their emotions are met with curiosity, not correction. Where vulnerability is met with care, not critique. And when invalidators realize their influence is gone, they often say, I don't know why you've changed. But wise women know the answer. They didn't change. They healed. The fifth type of person a wise woman never keeps around is the conditional supporter. This is the person who loves you as long as you stay agreeable, as long as you don't rock the boat, as long as your choices don't challenge their expectations of who you should be. They support you when it's convenient. They praise you when you comply. They disappear the moment you choose yourself. Their love has fine print, invisible rules you were never allowed to read, but you're punished the moment you break them. And when you do, the warmth turns cold, affection becomes distance, approval becomes silence. Wise women notice how unsafe this feels, how exhausting it is to perform a version of themselves just to stay accepted. They recognize that love that requires self-betrayal is not love. It's control dressed up as care. Because real support doesn't evaporate when you set boundaries. It doesn't punish you for growth. It doesn't threaten connection when you express autonomy. Wise women stop negotiating their authenticity for belonging. They stop shrinking to stay liked. They stop explaining why their choices deserve respect. And here's the quiet shift. They no longer fear losing people who only loved a smaller version of them. Because anyone who withdraws love when you stand in your truth was never supporting you. They were supporting their access to you. Wise women let these people fade without drama. No confrontation, no closure speech, just distance. Because love that must be earned by self-erasure is too expensive. The sixth type of person a wise woman never keeps around is the habitual victim. This is the person who is always wronged, always misunderstood, always suffering, and never responsible. Life happens to them, never because of their choices. And somehow you are always cast as the rescuer. At first, your empathy kicks in, you listen, you reassure, you problem solve, you carry emotional weight that was never yours to hold. But no matter how much support you offer, nothing changes because their pain is not something they want healed. It's something they use to avoid accountability. Wise women notice how draining this dynamic becomes, how every conversation circles back to their wounds, how your struggles are acknowledged briefly, if at all, before being overshadowed by theirs, how your compassion slowly turns into obligation. Here's the truth most people are afraid to say Not everyone who is hurting wants to heal. Some people want witnesses. Some want sympathy without growth. Some want you exhausted so they don't have to change. Wise women stop confusing compassion with responsibility. They understand that empathy does not require self-sacrifice. And they recognize that carrying someone else's emotional life is not love, it's enmeshment. So they stop rescuing, they stop fixing, they stop absorbing guilt that was never theirs, not with anger, with awareness. Because when someone refuses to take responsibility for their life, they will eventually make you responsible for their pain. And wise women choose freedom over fatigue. The seventh type of person a wise woman never keeps around is the inconsistent communicator. This is the person who shows up fully one day and vanishes the next. Warm, open, invested, then distant, vague, unreachable, and you're left trying to read between the lines, decode silence, and make sense of mixed signals that slowly unravel your nervous system. Wise women recognize this for what it is, emotional instability disguised as mystery. Because consistency is not boring, it's safety. And anyone who keeps you guessing is not building connection, they are creating anxiety. You start questioning yourself, wondering what you said wrong, what you did wrong, whether you're asking for too much when all you want is clarity. And here's the subtle damage. Inconsistency trains you to accept less. It conditions you to overvalue crumbs, to become grateful for a bare minimum effort, because you never know when it might disappear again. Wise women stop romanticizing unpredictability. They understand that real intimacy doesn't come with emotional whiplash. It doesn't require you to chase reassurance or beg for presence. So instead of confronting every disappearance, they step back. Instead of demanding explanations, they observe behavior, because patterns speak louder than promises. And when someone shows them that communication is optional, wise women make access optional too, not as punishment, as protection, because peace lives in predictability, and wise women choose relationships that feel steady, not suspenseful. The eighth type of person a wise woman never keeps around is the quiet competitor. This is the person who smiles at your success, but secretly resents it. The one who supports you in words, but competes with you in energy. The one who turns every conversation into a comparison, subtly, skillfully, enough to make you feel guilty for shining. They ask questions not to understand, but to measure. They listen not to celebrate, but to calculate. And when something good happens to you, their enthusiasm feels thin. Wise women sense this immediately. It's the way joy feels unsafe around them. The way you downplay wins so you don't make them uncomfortable. The way your confidence triggers their insecurity. And suddenly, you're managing their emotions instead of enjoying your life. Here's the truth: competition has no place in genuine connection. Someone who sees your growth as a threat will never be a safe witness to your becoming. Wise women don't confront this type loudly, because envy denies itself. Instead, they quietly create distance. They stop sharing milestones. They stop offering access to their inner victories. They protect their joy like something sacred, because it is. And listen carefully. You do not owe anyone dimming. You do not owe anyone explanation for your light. You do not owe anyone comfort at the cost of your expansion. Wise women surround themselves with people who clap without counting, who celebrate without comparing, who feel inspired, not threatened, by another woman rising. Because the right people don't compete with you. They walk beside you. The ninth type of person a wise woman never keeps around is the chronic minimizer. This is the person who constantly downplays your experiences, your struggles, and even your achievements. Not aggressively, but persistently. They turn your pain into not a big deal. They turn your success into anyone could do that. You share something that took courage, they respond with indifference. You survive something that changed you, they shrug and move on. And over time, something painful happens. You stop sharing altogether. Because every time you open your mouth, you feel smaller, less seen, less valued, less real. Wise women understand that minimization is a form of emotional neglect. It sends a clear message: your inner world is inconvenient. And anyone who treats your story like background noise does not deserve access to it. Because your experiences matter. Even if someone else has had it harder, your victories matter, even if someone else has done more. Life is not a competition of pain or worth. Wise women stop offering depth to people who live on the surface. They stop seeking acknowledgement from those incapable of giving it. And they stop shrinking their truth to make someone else feel more comfortable. Instead, they choose people who lean in, who listen fully, who understand that honoring someone's experience costs nothing, but withholding it costs everything. And when minimizers realize they no longer have an audience, they often accuse wise women of being distant. But distance is not coldness. It's self-preservation. The 10th type of person a wise woman never keeps around is the one who repeatedly shows you who they are and expects you to keep doubting yourself. This isn't about one behavior. It's about the pattern, the accumulation, the quiet knowing in your body that something isn't right, and the courage it takes to finally trust that knowing. Wise women stop waiting for closure that never comes. They stop hoping people will become someone they've already proven they are not. They understand that clarity is not something you receive, it's something you choose. And here is the truth that changes everything. Walking away silently is not weakness. It is not avoidance. It is not cruelty. It is discernment. Wise women don't announce their exits because they don't need validation for protecting their peace. They don't explain themselves to people who benefited from their confusion. They don't burn bridges. They simply stop crossing them. Because healing teaches you this: not everyone deserves an explanation. Not everyone deserves access. Not everyone deserves another chance. Some people are lessons, not lifetimes. And when a wise woman finally lets go, she doesn't do it with anger in her voice. She does it with calm in her nervous system, with clarity in her boundaries, with relief in her soul. She chooses herself, not loudly, not dramatically, but permanently. And that is the quiet power of a woman who knows her worth.